Alright, I'll now give you chapter 2 of Bullies Shoved the Quiet Girl into a Dumpster. You won't believe who stepped in a single long paragraph, picking up right from the cliffhanger in chapter 1, keeping it highly emotional and engaging, ending with a motivating call for viewers to like and subscribe. Chapter 2. Emma's eyes blinked against the sudden light, the cold air brushing her face as the dumpster lid stayed open. The figure above her came into focus, a boy about her age, tall but lean, wearing a faded black hoodie with the sleeves pushed up, revealing sinewy arms streaked with smudges of black grease. His dark hair fell into his eyes, and there was something unreadable in his expression, anger, maybe, but not at her. "Come on," he said simply, his voice low but steady, like he was giving her a choice rather than an order. Her fingers trembled as she reached for his hand, and in one smooth motion, he pulled her out, his grip strong enough to make her feel anchored in a world that had just been spinning out of control. She stumbled slightly when her feet hit the ground, and he steadied her with a hand on her shoulder. "You're Emma, right, art girl?" he asked, glancing at the sketchbook now lying in a puddle. She nodded, her voice barely audible. I guess so." He bent down, scooped up the sketchbook, and wiped the cover against his sleeve without caring about the dampness soaking into his hoodie. "I'm Jake," he said, handing it back to her. "And I saw what they did." The weight of those words sank into her. Someone had seen, and instead of laughing, they'd stepped in. Her throat tightened as she clutched the sketchbook to her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. Jake's jaw flexed as his eyes darted toward the direction the bullies had gone. "They've been doing this to people for too long," he muttered, almost to himself. "Not today." Before she could ask what he meant, he turned to walk with her toward the main building, but then he stopped, looking her over. "You okay? Did they hurt you?" She shook her head quickly, though her knees still ached and her pride felt fractured. "I'm fine," she lied, not wanting him to see just how broken she felt inside. They started walking again, the sound of their shoes slapping against the wet pavement the only thing breaking the silence. Halfway to the doors, Tyler's voice rang out from behind them. Well, looks like the trash took itself out." The mocking laughter of his crew followed, and Emma's stomach twisted. But before she could shrink away, Jake stepped in front of her like a shield. "Leave her alone," he said, his tone ice cold but calm, the kind of calm that made you think twice before laughing. Tyler smirked, looking Jake up and down. "What are you gonna do about it, grease monkey?" Chad and Mason flanked him, their smirks growing. Jake didn't back away. "Try me," he said, his voice quiet but razor sharp. The tension in the air was so thick it felt like the clouds above might split open and pour rain just to break it. Tyler stepped closer, his grin faltering just slightly, and Emma could see the calculation in his eyes. He wasn't used to people standing up to him, especially not someone like Jake. "Not worth my time," Tyler finally muttered, motioning for his crew to follow as they walked off, still throwing a few insults over their shoulders but with less conviction than before. Emma exhaled, realizing she'd been holding her breath. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly. Jake shrugged. "Yeah, I did." They walked into the building together, and for the first time in years, Emma didn't feel completely invisible. Over the next few days, word spread, someone had stood up to Tyler and his crew. Some students whispered about Jake's past, about how he'd been kicked out of sports for fighting, about his part-time job at his uncle's garage, about the rumors that his older brother had been expelled for the same reason. But none of that mattered to Emma. What mattered was that when she was at her lowest, someone had shown her that she wasn't alone. Slowly, they began talking more, at lunch, between classes, even after school. Jake never made her feel like she had to talk if she didn't want to, but he listened when she did. And in turn, she learned things about him, that his mom worked 2 jobs, that he hated the smell of the cafeteria, that he could fix almost anything with an engine but couldn't draw a straight line to save his life. One afternoon, sitting under the big oak tree behind the school, Emma finally asked him, "Why did you help me that day?" Jake looked at her, his gaze steady. "Because once, no one helped me." Those 6 words stuck in her head, replaying over and over. In the weeks that followed, Emma found herself drawing again, not just in secret but in public. She even started a small sketch of Jake, though she never told him. And while Tyler and his friends still lurked in the halls, they kept their distance, their smirks quieter, their insults less frequent. One day, walking home together, Jake stopped on the sidewalk and looked at her. "You know, you're stronger than you think." She didn't know if it was true, but she liked hearing it. As the sun set behind them, painting the sky in streaks of gold and pink, she realized something: sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear grease-stained hoodies and have a stubborn streak a mile wide. And sometimes, they change your life not with grand speeches, but with a simple act of kindness when you need it most. So if you've ever felt invisible, or like no one's watching, remember, someone might just be waiting to step in. And if this story touched your heart even a little, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that remind you, kindness is never wasted, and courage can come from the most unexpected places. Do you want me to also create 10 powerful image prompts based on this story so you can make visuals for your video? Emma's eyes blinked against the sudden light, the cold air brushing her face as the dumpster lid stayed open. The figure above her came into focus, a boy about her age, tall but lean, wearing a faded black hoodie with the sleeves pushed up, revealing sinewy arms streaked with smudges of black grease. His dark hair fell into his eyes, and there was something unreadable in his expression: anger, maybe, but not at her. "Come on," he said simply, his voice low but steady, like he was giving her a choice rather than an order. Her fingers trembled as she reached for his hand, and in one smooth motion, he pulled her out, his grip strong enough to make her feel anchored in a world that had just